Here's the thing. You're never going to say it better than the tree says it. So listen. For a moment, my mind stopped, and the great stillness underneath everything arose. I received counsel. Baby, you're not old enough. You've got to grow much, much bigger. Until you're big enough to shelter someone. And be a respite from the heat. Collect all the light. And shut up.
So this is my pillow fort, and I hope you like it. I built it myself.
As like a pillow fort artist, do you think you have like any responsibility towards the like world with your pillow forts? What do you think? No. What do you think the point of a pillow fort is?
Fun mostly. It has a couple holes. I should fix those. But yeah. If you build a pillow fort, what would it be like, Mom? You never built one.
I think it'd have to be kind of big. What do you go for when you're building a pillow fort?
Something awesome. Special. Yeah, it's made out of cushions, completely cushions. Nothing else but cushions. It's very good because you can basically just disappear into it, because no one will really notice you inside. No holes. Well, actually there is holes, but I should fix them, and then no one will see you. There's some holes, but yeah. Mom, how do you turn it off?
They're on their way to Parkland to bury the ashes of her dad. Curtis's wish was to have his ashes buried between his mother and father, and in order to avoid the $4,000 service charge, the plan is to covertly bury a small jar of his ashes, guerrilla style, right there in the small patch of grass that separates Joe and Betty's headstones. Uncle Terry has a piece of cardboard ready for when it's digging time. Aunt Sandy, Aunt Grace, and Tina form a semicircle around him. They're on the lookout. Tina has purchased a spade with a serrated edge expressly for this mission. She hands the tool to Terry. A bucket is retrieved from Terry's car, and when the coast is clear, he begins. He carves out a neat square of sod and sets it aside. Tina and Grace realize suddenly that they've been standing on Joe and Betty's graves, so everyone shuffles nervously but remains vigilant, maintaining watch as workers in golf carts cruise the cemetery. Terry dumps small shovelfuls of dirt into the bucket. He's not moving fast enough for the ants. "Come on, faster. They're coming." Terry stops digging. "Who's coming? Is someone coming?" He's frustrated. Is someone actually coming? Grace does not have a patient demeanor. "Terry, that's deep enough. Come on, hurry up. Just put it in there." Terry takes the tiny urn and places it in the hole he's just made, roughly the size of a golf cup. Everyone agrees it's not deep enough. He picks up the pace and doubles the depth in no time. Okay, give me the urn." He presses the urn into the bottom of the hole, and it's determined to be sufficient. The clump of grass is placed back over the hole, and someone suggests watering it in. There's a scramble to find a water bottle, but soon one emerges. The perforated edges are carefully watered, and Terry puts his weight on the spot to make it level. The spade, bucket, and cardboard are loaded back in the trunk. The grievers spread out slightly and try to act casual. They're relieved. Everyone agrees Curtis is loving this scene. Terry's not quite done yet, though. He heads to a nearby site and grabs a small American flag. Explaining the difference between theft and reallocation, he plunges the flag directly between the two granite squares, marking Curtis's new spot. The flowers they brought are placed in the designated holder at the foot of the grave. "Once a Marine, always a Marine," says Terry. "I just miss him so much." Sandy can barely get the words out. Her face is red. There are tears, and then photographs, and then they all decide to visit Aunt Bev's cremation vault. It's in the Legacy Garden, which is a short walk from where they are. The conversation turns to remains and what ought to be done with them. Tina has a portion of Curtis's ashes that she's giving to his daughter, Ashley, and she plans on spreading the remainder of those ashes into the Pacific Ocean when they're on a cruise next year. Aunt Sandy lost her husband many years ago and refuses to honor his wish to have his ashes spread over the ocean. She says she simply will not do it. She needs to keep his remains with her. When he first died, she kept the urn in the garage in the driver's seat of his golf cart. In the winter, she moved him inside because she didn't want him to be cold. Now he stays in his old office. Terry doesn't want to be cremated. He wants a proper burial at the Marine Cemetery. "I want the whole thing. The 21-gun salute, the bugles, the bagpipes. I want the whole thing when I die. You better respect my wishes. I'll haunt you." Aunt Sandy confesses that she had a spot reserved for her ashes right next to Bev's, but couldn't follow through with it. She backed out. It was too creepy. It was like planning her own funeral. She says, I used to think I wanted to have my ashes spread in the woods, up in the mountains somewhere, but I found out it's illegal, so now I just don't know. There are places in the Rocky Mountains, just west of Denver, seen recently, where the panorama of tree cover is so thick that it looks unreal, like fabricated wallpaper or a glossy 2-page spread from a magic eye book. The uniformity and density is striking, especially when it fills your entire field of vision. A tightly packed, well-dressed congregation, mostly still, reverent, and patient. An adoring audience utterly enchanted by the silent sermon of the sun each morning. A devout, unwavering deference to her divinity. Shankara states that the world itself cannot be real because it is impermanent. However, since the world can be perceived, it cannot be unreal either. It cannot be completely non-existent because we have an experience of it. Writing now on a dilapidated wooden lawn chair on top of a crusty old wooden pallet, wondering if I'm getting a sunburn. Can a dead tree greet the day? Does a telephone pole have a soul? The question is difficult to ask a tree, but it's something like this. When you die, what would you like done with your body? To be struck by lightning? Burned to ash? Milled for lumber? Would you like to be made into a casket? To be pulped for paper? To never die? To be animated by the birds? Played by the winds? A two-way transducer delivering atmospheric vibrations to the earth and transmitting terrestrial messages to the heavens? Left standing until every limb cracks and falls off, eventually slouching into a tall, thick forest weave of dead branches and brambles, to be welcomed, gathered, consumed, and reintegrated, remembered. Would you like us to chant instructions from the Tibetan Book of the Dead to you for 49 days after you die? Would you like us to sing close to your ear? Would you like us to assist your consciousness to a favorable rebirth?
Okay. Can we start again?
We only got one take. Go!
Okay. Hi, Wordos. Whoa. Hi from Japan. Decided somewhat spontaneously to film this video and submit it to Wordo, in part inspired by Joel's submission from last time. I feel like something is always appreciated. And I'm here with my little brother Isaac, and we're in northern Kyoto visiting a temple inspired by the fact that Basho was here in 1670 as he was wandering and writing haiku, and he stayed in this hut visiting a friend of his, a priest who was living on these grounds. And we were reading the brochure and found that there is a poem of Basho's under a tree, right over here. And I'm gonna have Isaac do some translating. Okay.
There's the tree. And, hello. This is a stone with a Basho haiku engraved on it. Now, it's old, but I was able to figure out how to read it from other brochures. So it goes, Uki ware o sabishikara o kanko dori. And so, it's hard to translate literally because it's old Japanese, but the first part is roughly something like the floating self. Uki means floating, and ware is the term for me, so it's uki ware, floating self. O is like a article that connects to the second verse. Sabishikara o, to make the self feel lonely, is the combination of the first and the second verse, but the second verse, sabishikara o, means just to make lonely. And then the third verse is kanko dori, which means cuckoo bird. And I believe there's an association with the sound of the cuckoo bird with some sort of feeling. And usually in haikus, they need to have some element of nature to guide the reader to what season it's taking place in. And so the whole thing would roughly translate, the floating self to make lonely the cuckoo bird.
I'm just standing here.
I've been standing here for a long time.
I am, by virtue of this, a symbol of your vital earth, indifferent but vital, enduring, your hope of fertile future. Fertility now, a fertility that nurtures, endures, the sturdiness and the prickliness of it, and maybe the prospect of climbing high over it. But none of this would be possible, even to think, without you having become what you have become. I saw what some called your golden age, from which you fell by knowing, becoming deliberate, becoming anxious, as that became the weather of your plastic brains, as you invented and destroyed. I watched the fast, just fast, slow for you, but fast, man, transformation of your old brains into lines of words. Saw you wiping yourselves out. Did you become more like me? What happened? I considered similarly the transformation in a split second of your brains into scrolls and swipes. There was a lot of freaking out happening. Pretty interesting to watch such wiggly, fractured creatures evolving through freaking out. The externally directed freak out, the lying still freak out, that creepy stare off into the distance freak out. Evolving by flopping. Evolving by the most tenuous little fucking tricks of chemistry. You flopping, squishy columns. You fast-breathing tubes. You rootless, ambulatory shit factories. You fuckers. And to see the freak out as you drive your cars the same road every day because you were afraid but you were committed. You wanted to be just a little less alone in your fear. Your apocalyptic freak out was a kind of bravery and also a totally paralytic stoppage of bravery, as if you were hypnotized. You'd think by all your movement you'd be free. Am I free? It's possible to ask, if you were cooler, bolder, what would you carry this boldness into? What gradual new forms? But this is such a wordy way to grasp it. What slowly do I feel you becoming? Did you think I'd think of you so sternly, so modernistically? Are you surprised? What would a cyber tree say? A wire tree? A postmodern/metamodern tree? An artsy hipster tree? What could you think a tree would say? What if all the trees loved you, breathed for you all this time? What if the trees are at war with you? What if the trees are as confused as you are? Listen, motherfucker, hug a tree, okay?
The morning of the mouthful, the allopathic life spiral. Cigarette full of peanut skins, squint your day away window panes, and identified by our cherry pits, you'll never get away with it. All these stolen moments, my heart is yours. Matted surface and buttery forgiveness business card all over again. Sides make long distance calls. I got 5 tear ducts full of Crisco. I got an onion bag full of Air Jordans, Flash Gordons, and ground Mormons. And what?
Every time he gets the chance. Every time he sees it,
Towering Incantation. Today I stood at the tree in my small dim awe and looked up and saw all that I could not see. Imagine a world in which no mirror yet existed, and you gazed in the waters to catch glimpses and watched the faces of others to see some sign of your own image. This way, it is easy to understand the deranged system of psychotic mirrors we carry everywhere now. I looked up into the branches of my blindness and held for a moment the rough, unknowable skins of bark in my hand. With ease and tenderness, already I was gone again into the day. No need to belabor any lack of vision. This is what your poem reminds in me.
Today in daily practice fallen. It is okay how many times it has all been said. AM off balance. I see that I taking the lead. There's no switch. Falling tree. Eyes closed of habitual harm comes from near decades the belief in balancing. This is grief work. Early morning afternoon shower arranged in the yard, the drums of self-suspirate. I wasn't here clearing yet, and I'm not gone. Walls the din, they do not eye. Blooded sex, hot water cleans, no longer steed, seed deflated. I rewrite the prayers of every mad god, known, unknown, or erased. Ripple asked me if I think of ancestors and said there was finding them in your body. I saw this freedom, and my patriarch will die with his. The table was abundant on Sunday. It has all been said how many times it is okay. Afternoon, early morning dawn, risen run-off trickster, run off the bounded philosophy said to be bone, believed it finding with the head is Saturn's North Pole. No one knows why there is a hexagon. You hear what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying? It would all be groovy on every second house, man. Plague begun again. I am the authored approval caught in the if ecosystem. Maybe parting will help. It is okay how many times it has all been said. Faith separates. Last night in the garage after dinner, unquiet and karate red line dances and Lagos stations. Our wait is meaningless. That we were in present to place self is to say there is none in evens. Even though, of course, right, we limbo in gravity, said it how many times, okay, it has all been is. Sunday evening morn among the greatest poets of the new dawn. Last night the dinner party sick with their gold turn, each an alarm clock awaiting. Remember we spoke of devastation on the sofa, reliving sobriety's first weeks, so loaded, so dedicated to the monster, which to follow an earlier thread speaking to, of draught collectors collecting on purpose, surrounded by a ring of winds turning in opposite direction to the storms itself. To suffer you coincide as knowing. There are this places and frames one further all of us, and we do, despite the magnificence of this living room reading Sundays. It is okay how many times it has all been said. Monday rising of mattress, the living dead, love. I see it in the eyes of all, the first creaking of maladaption. To the host of morsel novels, seeing this in the way, stable geometric arrangement of polygons can occur on any planet. To do away with carrying space, acoustic strip, Empyrean isles, and Hulk's collapsing ask overtone series, the minutes in this regard move. Through a simple question, the physics of sound. We talked on expectations and they're going. Now, not now, the daily practice reminded me not of falling and learning, but relinquishing. My body does seek its own rhythmic alliance as its own scripture. For my perception to overread and earn, I am seeing the way trial. It has all been said. It is okay how many times. Do you remember dying at 14? Invention and dimension questions whirl to resolve themselves. Anticyclonic ring, think of waste every time the sesquipedalians reemerge. Or was that when she died? Reading this in your voice, see anticyclonic shielding, asking if I loved you to the observed hexagon. System produces a long living structure akin, isn't that all we do? Sort of science, sonic landscape. It was supposed to be so compact and then numbers papered in literature. Yet how you pulled in the asking of this love subsequent to tremor, the darkness headed, how terrible this version of knowing journey. Is that me with love in your hand? Call it heart bark, rebalancing, failing tree wonders. Minutes can last a lifetime if you think of them. It is okay how many times it has all been said. I understood in time. Quote, buffalo, etched on the walls of his dimming mind. They might be the last thing to go, like on the Great Plains, just space on the horizon. Or maybe they will always be there, like in the cave of Lasau. Buffalo, bison, living animal spirits forever with us. Our relationship with them is part of what makes us human. End quote.